guess what? We are this time we are having a speaker again from the Microsoft, and this time we are having Ritik Kumar, who is working as a software engineer at Microsoft. His background is yet a software developer, but he has expertise in the React and the web development field. Let me correct Ritik if I'm wrong anywhere.
No, no, you're completely correct. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So today we'll be discussing about the most trending topic after the software development. Because after the DSA, if the any particular hot topic is, then it's the full stack development.
Right.
Because if a person is not doing the DSA, then he must be doing this full stack development.
Right.
Because we see lots of less number of people in the field of Android development or iOS development, or you can say DevOps or cybersecurity, such kind of things.
Mhm.
So yeah, we are good to go. And let me tell you a brief intro about Ritik. He's a graduate from NIT Agartala, and he's currently working at Microsoft with 2 years of experience or industry experience at Microsoft. So yeah, this is all about the today's speaker details. And Ritik, I would request you to tell the audience a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. So hello everyone. My name is Ritik Kumar. I currently work as a software engineer with Microsoft. I have 2 years of full-time experience working with Microsoft. Prior to this, I have like completed my graduation from NIT Agartala, wherein I worked on a lot of internship during my college. So I did internships on DevOps, full stack development, Android development. I worked at IIT Bombay for 2 months. Stayed in the IIT Bombay campus doing my internship there. I have worked in the backend technologies, front end technology, and majorly like on the JavaScript end as a developer. But apart from this, I have done a lot of lead code and DSA questions online. So yeah, so I have a good hand on DSA as well.
Yeah, I think that's a very impressive. Also, before starting the session, first of all, I would like to thank you for giving your time. Trust me, because personalities like you who are just giving this your uh, precious time to share your experience, your feedback, your learning to your juniors, especially those who have no any exposure on such kind of platforms where they can interact with the seniors or the industry personality. So yeah, you guys are doing a very great job, and thank you for this. We are really grateful for you. This yeah. So let's start. Sorry for the disturbance. Is there any noise from my end?
No,
Ritik,
it's
just
fine.
let
It's
me
fine.
know. Okay, okay, thank you. So yeah, okay. So let's start the session. Uh, we are discussing here about the full stack development and all. So would you like to tell audience about the brief intro on the front end development or web development, so that they came to know what it is and what the responsibilities the front end developer is actually having.
Okay, so let me give you an idea basically about what a software engineering like web development is in general. So basically, like there are multiple aspects on which we use any software. So we can use a software from our Android app. We can use a software from our iOS app. We can use it through via the web. And the most convenient use is throughout like to the web by using like a browser like Chrome or Edge, where you can just navigate to a site. You can use it because it erases out any process of installation of any app or going to the Play Store to search it or anything. You can simply Google up and you can visit the site. Now, web development is where like most of the sites, most of the companies will have a online presence, no matter even if it has a like Android app or iOS app to get the same work done, but it would have some online presence by having a website where the same thing can be done. For example, Amazon app, we all have Amazon app, but
Yeah,
instead of we have a Amazon app, we still visit the Amazon.in site if we are browsing through our desktop or a laptop. So we still go to the site, and the same process can be done to the website as well. So all these interfaces that we have is like the front end part where we can interact with the system using a app, which can be in form of Android app, iOS app, or if any other new operating system comes in tomorrow. So it will be a new app on that system, and it can be website. And then we have a backend part, which is actually running all the logic, which is actually doing all the computation, storing our data, information, processing our orders, or whatever things we interact with our site. All the interactions are stored in those backend parts. So and like this combined together make the software development or what we call as a full stack development, where we have a front end and we have a back end for development. Yeah.
that's good. So let's come to the basically the React developers, those juniors who are in first year, second years, who are thinking to learn this React. So can you give your brief idea like what are those basically the React developers? What are their responsibilities? What are they basically working on?
Okay. So React is first of all like not like any other framework. It is basically a small library. Okay, and it's a
Yeah,
really a very small library, not a framework in general. So, for example, what's the difference between a framework and a library? So, framework you can think of like a very heavy software, right? You need to download it, you need to run it, a lot of things you need to do. React is like a small library, like you can think of it like a Chrome extension that you install to your Chrome. You already have the app, you just install it, the Chrome extension, and you get the features of that extension. So React is like that plugin. Now, React is like the existing thing that we knew already for web development, like HTML, CSS, what we were using. React uses the exact same thing. The UI layer that we see, all the websites that you build are built using React are ultimately nothing but HTML and CSS. React is
yeah.
just a logic that we write, which helps us to better organize our HTML, CSS, get our features, like create features very quickly as compared to how we'll write in HTML, CSS. Helps us in breaking the site into smaller chunks so that the development process can be easy. Helps us to reuse the components. For example, if we have created some feature in our site and we want to show it somewhere else. So, for example, let's say I've created a payments page and now I want to add it to 100 different places. Or even if I have created a dialogue and I want to use it in 100 different places, using React, it makes our life very simple to use it in all the different places at once. Right? We don't need to again and again rewrite the code. So rewriting of code is like reduced a lot by use of React, and having the
Yeah.
existing knowledge of HTML, CSS, we can build only on the top of it. That we need to learn very less amount of new things on that.
Okay, okay, that's perfect. So let's come to the motto of our session. Okay, what are those some essential skills that a React developer must practice? Because obviously there are some practices that a developer, if I'm talking about a general developer who's a full stack developer, there are some shorter practices that he or she has to follow on a daily basis for better, from better developer to a unique one. I mean, you can say they're separate from the crowd
Yeah.
because there are lots of developer in the market. There are lots of developers, but there are few who is actually basically creative in that field. So obviously there are some unique practices, some sort of basic practices they do on the daily basis, so that they can stand apart from the crowd. So what are those some basic essential skills from your point of view?
So, like, first thing is for a React developer, it's must to have like the very good fundamental knowledge of HTML, CSS, DOM manipulation, and JavaScript, and then React, obviously. Right. So these are the five things that we say is like the five pillars of React, the basic of HTML, not basic, like a good amount of decent amount of HTML, CSS, DOM manipulation, JavaScript, and React concepts. Now, apart from this, let's say once I learned all these concepts, now what are the things that I need to practice? So React is something which follows a very detailed way of writing code, right? Where we have like very control on each every particular aspect of the UI thing. So, for example, if I am putting something into the UI, I can put checks on where what are the things that I want to do when the component is actually put into the UI, when the user refreshes the browser, or when some change happens to that component. So specifically, what we need to do that. So all this we call it as the life cycle of anything that we have put into the UI. We call it as a React component that we have mounted. So we need to understand how each of these steps work. And if let's say tomorrow I have to make a small change in somewhere, I need to understand the very fundamental of React of where I need to actually figure that change out. Now this is what would actually distinguish a normal general person who would know React from a person who would be very well versed in React. So he would know every bit of manipulation of those React in each life cycle state. So whether it is mounted, whether it is re-rendered, whether it is unmounted, so all those life cycles are very important to understand critical things on React, to control the component in the UI, to make it optimized to later. Let's say if our site load time is, let's say, what we say is our site's load time is should be less than 1 second. I think there is a general study that Amazon did years ago. So for each second delay in the site load time, Amazon used to lose millions of dollars because users used to go to other sites
Yeah.
to place the order. Now, as a UI engineer, as a front-end engineer, our responsibility is that every action that the user is trying to make in the UI should happen within 1 second. Now, it should be a load of the site, it should be a refresh of the site, it should be clicking any button and the action that would happen due to the click of that button. Now, all those aspects would happen if we have written the code in a very optimized way. We have not written any unnecessary code, or we have written a code in such a controlled way that we are not doing unnecessary work when it is not required. So yeah, so this would distinguish a person from a normal React developer and from one who would be like ahead from the crowd, who would know how to control a React component throughout its life cycle.
Okay, okay. Any other practice set, or like any resources or some platform there are on the available on the internet, so that
So
anyone
there is
can practice over
one
there?
very good site that's javascript.info, which is which has a very detailed way of explaining DOM manipulation for each of the every aspect of DOM manipulation, and all the concepts that is related to DOM manipulation is very well covered in that site. It is free, it is available, and it is well documented and written in a short notes format, not a lengthy PDF or something that we would get bored of reading. And the second thing is like React Docs, which is like the React official documentation.
Yeah.
Itself is a very good way to start understanding React's fundamental concept. So, for example, like learning React is so easy that if I come and explain 15 minutes that this is how you can create a component in React, if someone knows the basics of HTML, CSS, he can start writing code in React within 15 minutes. But from there, how what are the new things to learn is like how will what are the different aspects of component, how can you optimize it, what are the different hooks in a functional component, or what are the different lifecycle methods that's there in a class component that would help you understand of how actually components work once you create it. So when the component is created, how what are the different phases it would go through, and how will you able to optimize it, or how will you able to save your competition at different places, be it a class or a functional component.
Okay, okay. So there is a one question that has been asked from by many students. Like, there is need. Is there a need to learn full JavaScript before learning in before jumping or learning into this React?
Okay,
Like, is there a need to learn full JavaScript?
So I'll put it in this way. So let's say I want to learn I want to learn the sentences. I want to build sentences. Now, if I know the basics alphabets, I know all the alphabets A to Z, and I know some basic words, I can still build sentences, right? I can frame
Yeah.
English sentences and I can speak it. Now, will I be able to improve those sentences by knowing basics of, if I know the basic words, if I have to tell the same sentence in 10 different ways, or if I ask you to say the same sentence in some better English or correct the language in
Yeah.
the sentence, there the problem would come up. So if I know basics of JavaScript, I can still start with React. That's where everyone starts, right? But once you know the basics of React, you should not stop with just knowing basics of JavaScript. You should go ahead and learn advanced JavaScript, like what async await is, how event loops work, what promises hell is, what are the ways to deal with asynchronous code in JavaScript? How can you implement a multi-threading behavior that's not there in JavaScript? How can you use a single thread to do that? Now, those advanced concepts, I would not recommend you should directly learn everything and then start React. You can learn basics, start with React, but later it should be there in your plan that, yeah, after I learn some basics of React, I should go revisit JavaScript and learn all the advanced concepts that I did not look in the first go.
Okay, okay. So I think you answered this question very smartly by this your example. I think they must get your answer. There is a one question from student. Like, what is the role of native module? I mean, like he's getting some sort of confusion while applying, or you can say learning this native module. So what will be your suggestion to him?
Okay, so React was basically essentially developed to just create websites. Now later,
Yeah.
like React Native came up, and we can create both Android and iOS apps using it. Now, what are the advantages that it gives? If I just look at the advantages that it is offering right now as compared to any other thing that's available. So if I have to create an Android app, I have to go by a Kotlin app. I have to go learn Swift and then create it an iOS app. Now that is like three different codes. So I have a code for website. I have a different code base for Android app. I have a different code base for iOS app. Now let's say tomorrow I have to add a very small feature into one of my into the UI. So backend part is done. Now I have to create the same thing in Android app, separately in iOS app, separately in website. And those three developers are completely different because they know three different languages. A website would be most likely in React or JavaScript. The
Yeah.
Android app would be in Java or Kotlin, and iOS app would be in Swift. Now I need to hire three developers. From a company's point of view, it is lot of diverse thing that they have to manage, and they have creates a lot of burden to manage such code and such repositories. So what React Native offers is we can have the same JavaScript stack. We can see create Android and iOS apps using the same JavaScript JavaScript that we already know. So the concept of JavaScript is still same, and we can do both of them simultaneously. So it saves a lot of developer effort from our end while creating that, and it going forward as well while maintaining those apps, adding new features is also very easy as compared to adding it into three different things. So I see it as a like very good framework that could be that could going forward be used for creating Android and iOS apps. Companies have already started it using on large scale, and I see that adoption is only going to increase going forward
Yeah.
because JavaScript is like now present everywhere in front end, back end, everywhere. So I like really think that it is not going to be there in Android or iOS apps. It's going to be there soon as well.
Okay. Okay. So one more question. I think it's not rated only. It's not. This question is not focused only on this front end or React development. I think this question belongs to overall development field. Like how to unsolve that mystery of those debugging techniques. I think every developer must face this. They must have gone through this phase. Like they face some sort of difficulties or complexities while this debugging. So, like, is there any we can say certain sort of practice set or any technique that you follow so that
Okay.
yeah.
So I'd say ki, like this is I'll being honest. Every time I'll write code or I try to find some bugs. I always feel like I'm not testing the code. The code is testing me, right? So
Yeah.
it's always the reverse way around. So it's very so software engineering is itself a patience-full job, right? So we do DSA not only just to build logic, but to also build patience along with time that how to solve a particular question, right? So if we have a particular question, how do we solve it and how do we improve that solution? And let's say we solved the question, we improved our solution as well, and then there would be some edge case or corner case that would be failing. Now
Yeah.
there we used to figure out, okay, this is the corner case which is failing. We used to see that test case, and life was easy because we knew that this test case is failing, or if it was a competition, we used to guess what test case might be failing. But in software engineering, it is a little bit difficult than this because we don't know where the code would be failing. So the steps that I use generally is like first thing is to every time you need to find something or debug something, always try to run the code line by line. Never assume that this part of code would be doing this particular work, right? It might be doing, but it's not always guaranteed, and the bug would be there itself, might be there itself. So never make assumptions while debugging. Always try to run the code line by line, and then you will be easily able to predict where the issue or error is coming. If this doesn't work, and let's say the error, you already know that this error is coming and you're not able to predict how this error is coming or why this error is coming, so there is a very good site known as google.com. You can simply paste the error on there and you would see tons of suggestions to that. And this is it is one of the very rare scenarios if it happens that you're not able to google find that
Yeah.
error on Google, right? There would be someone who would have listed that error on Stack Overflow or Stack Exchange. Somewhere you would see some snippet of those error, or GitHub. There would be a GitHub discussion thread where such kind of issue would have been discussed. Okay, if you are not still able to locate that error, let's say you tried to run the code, you still succeeded, you did not see the error. Let's say you tried to figure out the error online, you did not still succeed. Then you can use the experience of other senior developers, whoever might be. Like say you are working on a company, there would be senior people who are working for far more years than you. And there would be your colleagues whom you can have, like whom you can ask to have a look in the code. Sometimes a second pair of eyes helps you to find that error easily. It might be it's just there in front of you, and since you are like running it again and again, you are missing it every time. But a second pair of eye would easily be able to catch it because he's seeing the code for the first time. So that thing like helps. So that's like one of the resorts that I go to if I don't find it. So and this happens with everyone, trust me. This even happens with senior developers working for 10-12 years,
Yeah.
that writing code, and then they have done everything and then they are still not able to see what the issue is. but and they also take the help of second pair of eyes to understand what is why the issue is happening or why the code is not working. And ideally, you should by doing this step, you should be able to get the issue. If not, then take a break, go play around, come back after 2 3 hours, and try it again. It would definitely help, right? So taking a break from the screen also helps at times to get those issues.
Okay, okay, that's great. I think in this field, Stack Overflow is the Bible of all this queries, or you can say all the sort of problems.
Yes.
Okay, so the next query is animation skill required to be while practicing this Reactor library?
No, actually, animations are not required to start with React. If you have a basic knowledge of CSS, you should be able to design the site. Animation is something which is like a complicated way of writing CSS, or you use a lot of CSS elements to
Yeah.
create a lot of moving parts. Now, that is something which is uh, which you will learn over the time. You can't learn animations or create every kind of CSS thing. Just by learning CSS, you won't be able to do it in a day or in a week. It will take time to learn those CSS things in depth as you keep on practicing it. Now, for building any basic websites, those animation kind of skills, I'd say, is not required. You will learn it gradually over time. You can practice CSS. There is one very good site for practicing CSS. It's known as CSS Battles. So if you search CSS Battle, you should be able to get the site. And there you see challenges that is coming every weekly challenges that comes up. You can try to practice CSS from there. If you want to build animations, very good animation, learn very fundamentals of CSS. So that would help you to understand them in depth and build those animations that you want to.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So, like, this was all about the React development. As you have discussed, you did a lot of internship in your college duration. So, like, what would be your suggestion to a third year who's planning for an internship on campus or off campus? It doesn't matter. But what would be your suggestion to him? Or like, if someone is preparing for getting an internship, so what are those some required steps or necessary steps that should be taken?
Okay. So I'll say for I did 4 internships and all of them were like off campus. I did not apply
Yeah.
for any on campus internship. Even my Microsoft internship was off campus. So off campus internships are really tough, right? Being honest, it's really tough to get.
Yeah.
But internships help you learn a lot of things that you cannot learn inside your college curriculum or create projects. I had created projects myself, learning like Android development or learning JavaScript, but that was different because I do not have to commit to someone, or I do not have to worry about the code quality, or if ever this project goes live or whatever happens. I'm just worrying on creating something. Now, when you work in an internship, you have peers, you have mentors who can guide you through, who will worry about the code quality, who would worry about if what would happen if the site would go live, would worry about every other corner case that in your code, whether this would be the scenario, whether your code will work, whether this would be the scenario, is your code working correctly or not. So those things, those learnings will happen in internships. And internships, say, is always a very good way as a student to learn things, right? So I did internship which were unpaid as well. I did internship which paid me very well as well. So but the learnings were there in all the internships. So if you are as a third year student, I would say you have 2 months break before your final placement season begins. So you can utilize that 2 months break, and internships help you a lot while getting your next internships or appearing for your next job. So when I did my IIT Bombay internships, just within 10 days of completing it, I had an internship for the next year summer. So I did it in second year, and I got an opportunity for next year summer. And just because they were impressed too much by the performance on there, and they saw the knowledge that someone is already having some idea about how software engineering works in general, and as an intern, you companies have very lesser expectations, or anyone who hires you has very lesser expectation apart from you just knowing basics fundamentals of programming. Anything you know over the top is like advantage to you. Any previous experience or anything that you have done is over the top advantage, and that helps you in your job interviews as well, and in your next set of internships, or any thing that you are looking for.
Okay, that was, I think, the nice answer. So I think it's about to be 30 minutes. I think we're about to wrap up the session. But before that, any one piece of advice that you want to give to your juniors from your all over experience up to still like you have 2 years of industrial experience, 4 years of college experience. So based on those experience, can you give a one sort of one piece of advice to your
Okay.
juniors who are watching this?
So one advice I would like to give to juniors is to not think too much as a student, right? Not think too much that what
Yeah,
should I learn this, should I do this. If that interests you, if you feel like okay, I want to learn Java, I want to build an Android app. If you feel like I want to build a website using React, just go for it. Okay? Just go for it. Don't focus about. See, I am a senior. I am a like mid-level developer right now. So I have worked 2 years on React, right? So now I would always think that how can I improve on React and what are the visions of going forward React. If React is a good framework that would be there 10 years down the line, and I would keep on continuing it, or should I learn a new thing that would be say, in the similar lines of front end development. But you as a college student, you have the opportunity to explore everything, and you should ideally explore it within college, right? Be it building a app, take a help from your friend, call a friend that let's say let's join in, let's solve a problem for mess. Let's create an online app to or an online website from where students can place their order on the mess system, and let's that order reflect on the mess person's app, right? Or create something like that. Come up with any crazy idea that you can think of, a problem that you see in your college campus, a problem that you see in your day-to-day life, a problem that you are observing in your hostel, right? Come up with the idea, solve it. No matter the tech stack you are picking, no matter the software you are building, it won't matter in the going in the long run. Those companies won't see that what you built, what was the stack you used, but they would be very much impressed that you picked a real life problem and you solved it. No matter you use Java or you use JavaScript, you use Python or whatever thing you use, you wrote the code in basic C++. It won't matter. It would matter that you saw a problem and you had that intuitive brain of an engineer to solve it, and you picked that problem, worked on it, solved it, and you know how software engineering looks like, and you would yourself learn it. You would Google up things, you would try to watch hundreds of YouTube videos to get the solutions for it, how to build apps, and that will help you learn a lot of things, and that will like spark the instinct in you to learn. Do that as a student, because that's the time to explore this. Don't worry about too much about should I pick this, should I not. You can pick whatever you want as a student. Just focus on but ensure this, whatever you start you complete it, right? So it should not happen that you started to build an app and midway you left it and you did not do it. Don't leave things in between. Try to complete it, and that is one thing that will help you a lot in your career going forward.
okay, okay. Thank you, Ritik, for this elastic answer as a piece of advice to your juniors. Okay, so I think we have discussed a lot about the React, about the development skills, some off-campus internships, some advice that was the realistic. That's what we are engineers made for, to solve a realistic problem, to solve a daily real life problem actually. So yeah, once again, Ritik, thank you so much for giving your time, and we are wrapping up this session. And before that, uh, I would really thanks. I would really thank you for joining this session. And personally, I got to learn so many things from you. So yeah, thank you for this. Thank you for joining.
Okay. Thank you
Yeah,
everyone, thank you team, thank you
thank
everyone
you.
for having
Bye,
me.
everyone.
Bye everyone.